Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. We carry forward our discussion on legal research method and methodology. Today we are going to discuss observation method of data collection and interview method of data collection. Let us start. This topic covered observation method of data collection, nature of observational studies, type of observations and use of observational research. With this we will also discuss advantages and disadvantages of the observation method. Then we will discuss interview method of data collection, what are the personal interviews, what are the telephonical interview, and then we will also discuss selecting the sample and conducting the interview. Now, let us begin with the observation method of data collection. Observation implies the use of eyes rather than voice and air. In the area of research, observation refer a direct systematic viewing of people or objects in their natural settings, and the purpose of the researcher is simply to collect the information on any specific matter. So, in simple terms, we can say that researcher or a group of researchers, they put their efforts to observe the real life situation under this method. So, this method is widely used while the researcher want to study the behavioral sciences. So, this method is not considered as a scientific observation because there is no scientific tool the researcher is going to use for this method, and the validity and reliability may be differ from person to person, and hence we can say that this is not a, so we can say that this method not use the scientific tools. So, observation we can say is a systematic process of recording the behavior pattern of people, objects and occurrence without questioning or communicating with the individuals under investigation. Now, here the purpose of the researcher is to collect information without interacting with the respondents. He simply try to observe the behavior of the respondents. He is not interacting with them. So, researcher here try to collect the information in the natural settings without interacting with the respondents, So, we can say that where the purpose of study is to have a systematic view of certain individuals or things or phenomena with the view to draw inference from such viewing, the study is termed as observational study. This is observational study. Why we call this observation study? Because here the view was systematic viewing. So, researcher he systematically view either certain individuals or maybe group or things, maybe some kind of a phenomena, because he has to be draw inferences only with that observation. We call, if he is observing the things in the natural setting, this is observational study. So, observational studies are field studies which are conducted in the natural environment. As I already said that here the researcher in the natural environment try to observe the respondent without interacting or without communicating with them. So, this is the introduction of the observation. What is observation method? Now, if we have to be understand that how this observation method is different, I mean how the direct systematic observation is different from the casual observation, let us take one example. Suppose you are going to your college, you enter the main gate of your college premises, and then you are moving toward your department. When you are going to that building, you might be of yours, but among those boys or girls, you have not noticed this, though you observe coming or going outside the campus. But if how many friends of yours you met with, then you have to be observed. So this is a difference between the specific or systematic direct observation, where the research phenomena in a systematic way, means he has to be followed in a manner to pursue his research, to collect observation as a method of data collection. And that is why recording and encoding of the behavior and event observed. So when a researcher who has to be, so when the girls or maybe of his classmates, maybe his seniors, so what he will do, he tried to record, okay, how with how many my classmates they were my juniors, so he tried to record the things. So how he did this recording? By observing them, by watching them, and then after that, or maybe the juniors. Now this is an example that how the direct systematic observation work. So recording here consists of making records. So in our example, the boy, he make a record of the students he met, and after that he tried to encode that how many of them they were his classmates or his seniors, or how many of them they were the juniors. Now this is the direct systematic observation. Now the another important feature of the observation is that this information required is obtained directly from the people or surroundings, rather than through the information supplied by others. So it means that in observation, the researcher tried to collect the information directly from the people or surroundings without interacting with them, without communicating with them, and even without taking the help of somebody else. Means this information is not supplied by somebody else to the researcher, that how the respondents they are living in that particular settings. He himself tried to observe the things. So it means that in a questionnaire or maybe in an interview schedule, the researcher is trying to collect information while interacting with the respondents. And in a questionnaire, he supplied the questionnaire and then he collect the questionnaire, the information whatever is given in the through that questionnaire or maybe through the interview schedule, he tried to decode that information. But here the researcher never come directly in communication with his respondent. So observational studies, they are usually conducted when a researcher is interested in knowing how individual and groups behave in some particular settings or place. In social sciences, researchers often use this method as a preliminary step. For example, see on your screen, a researcher plans to conduct a survey research, but he is not relatively familiar with the respondent. So when a researcher want to conduct a survey, so he was not well acquainted with his respondent or the sample of his survey. So what he did, he tried to observe the respondent for some time. So why so? Because actually he is not very much sure that what kind of question I should ask from my respondents, or what kind of the question I have to be framed to know the issue or the problem which I want to address into my research. So what he do, he tried to observe them very closely for some time and then try to understand the natural setting in which the respondents are there, and then also try to understand gradually their issues, problems, and on the basis of that now he is ready to prepare a questionnaire or maybe a interview schedule for that. Now moving ahead, when we try to see some more objective or important elements of observation, we can say the observation is in the field of law. Observation as a mean of systematic data collection is not commonly used method. Now this is a fact, this is the truth, because the majority research in the field of law are doctrinal research. because the researcher has to be understand that what are the problems, what are the gaps, what are the issues, whether the law is working adequately or not, if not then what is the lacuna and all that. So, all these studies the researcher conduct as doctrinal studies, but observation method is used when the law researcher or the legal researcher student he try to conduct a socio-legal study, and observation method sometimes can also use with the questionnaire method, with the interview method to observe the respondent in the field, and sometimes only the observation method is very helpful to understand the behavior of the respondent, and sometimes this is also very helpful to observe the behavior of the respondent, that how they behave in that natural setting. For example, if researcher want to observe, if we want to collect the data about that how people they are driving their cars in the traffic signal areas, whether they are violating the traffic rules or not. So, he will not go directly to his respondent and ask them whether you are abiding the traffic rules or not. No one will say yes. So, the only option to collect information is by observing the behavior of the people who are driving the cars or the two-wheeler or the four-wheeler, etc. The another example is that if researcher want to collect some information that about the juveniles who are in conflict with law, why they are committing such crimes in a very young age. So, researcher maybe visit to observation home. So, he might not get a very accurate answer when he asked these juveniles, but then he tried to observe the behavior of the juveniles in the observation home. And this might be very helpful for him to come to some conclusion that why the young children in a very young age they are in conflict with law or they are committing the crimes. So, moving ahead, there is one example which I already mentioned, you can see on your screen. The behavior of delinquents can be observed and studied in a legal research involving field study by the observation process. And as I said that it is not like the law is not the research in the field of law is not using the observation is used in a socio-legal research. The another example which is mentioned on the screen is for the purpose of ascertaining why delinquency is more common among certain group of young people. So, observation method will help to know the answer, and that is why the observation method is equally important and very relevant for the socio-legal research in the field of law. Similarly, if a researcher in the field of law, if he is interested in the causes of road accidents, then or maybe he interpreted in gathering information about a community living in poverty or in certain geographical area, the behavior and attitude of the parties in cases brought before the consumer claim tribunals, and then these examples tell us that such kind of information can only be possible to collect through the observation method. Now, moving ahead, what are the different types of observation? Observation technique is considered very important if researcher want to frame a hypothesis. Before framing the hypothesis, if researcher try to observe the respondents, the sample in a very natural setting, this will help the researchers to frame a very precise and a very good statements or the hypothesis. Now, see, the observation technique, it can be classified on the basis of their role of researchers participant in the phenomena of observation as participant observation, second the quasi-participant observation, and third is non-participant observation. So, observation can be classified on the basis of the role of the participant, role of the researcher. Observation technique, it can be classified on the basis of role of researchers' participation in the phenomena of observation. So, we have participant observation, quasi-participant observation and non-participant observation. Now let us understand one by one these different type of observation. Let us see what is the participant type of observation. Now the participant type of observation itself express that here researcher himself being actively remain associated with other members of the group, and while he become the member of that group, he tried to observe the behavior and activities of the group of the study. He tried to observe behavior and activity of the group of study. So in participant observation, researcher mix with the people. Now this is important, that in a participant observation, researcher is trying to mix up with the people in a group, and maybe in an organization, maybe in the institution, whatever area of his study. So if he is trying to observe behavior of the people who are working in that specific organization or maybe in an institution, he tried to mix up with the people in that group. So when he observed them in their natural surroundings, then it will be better to collect a reliable and accurate data. So what he he tried to observe their day-to-day activities. He tried to share his life and activities with the people he is observing, and what is going around. I mean, he is keeping watch on each and every activity of the respondent, while he himself become a part of that observation. We call that now this is the participant observation, where researcher himself is participating with the respondent or with the institution or the observation. So we can say that in participant observation, researcher mix himself with the group or organization or institution, and he tried to observe them in a natural surroundings, and the participant observe, he share the life and activity of the people serving, and in fact what is going around with them. Now the degree of participation, it depend upon the objectives of the research and practical demand of the situations. So participant observer, he actually get involved in the daily life of the group observed, and this observation is basically used to study the way of life, the norm of behavior, the custom, the culture of the specific group or the specific geographical area where the people they are living. The second type of observation is the quasi-participant observation. Now this kind of observation, researcher does not remain all present to study the group activities. Quasi-participant observation. Now here researcher does not remain all the time in the group. Means he is not gazing or he is not watching all the activities of the respondent. He has to believe on his fellow researchers on the phenomena when he is not present. So in quasi-participant observation, researcher he maybe take part in some kind of a festivals, sports, or in a group fooding, and only in these specific occasion researcher try to observe the behavior, the attitude, how the people they are behaving. So in this process he collect data about a person from the very close source rather than he directly involved. So now here the data collection is from the person who is closely related or who is very close to the quasi-participant observation. In this kind of observation, researcher does not remain all present to study group activities. Now he has to be believe on his fellow researcher of the phenomena when he is not present. So in quasi-participant observation, the researcher he takes part in the in some festivals, maybe in some sports gathering, or maybe in some group fooding, etc. And it means that in quasi-participant observation, the researcher rely on a person who is very close source to give information rather than he directly involved with the subject. So example is asking an individual to report on the job satisfaction of their partner. See, for example, if researcher want to pursue a research, he want to observe that in that particular area, out of the subjects, how many young people or the boys from 50 households they are working, or they are working in private sector or in a government sector. Now what he did? He did go to all the subjects individually to ask them that how many of them they are working in a government sector and a private sector. What he did, he raised to the very close member or the member who is associated with the subject, and he asked them. So in this way, he is not actively living with the group or the family or the community. He simply asked the question, or he simply tried to observe from the very close resource of the family, and then he collect the information. Now, this is the quasi participant observation, where the researcher do not participate closely, but he only collect information from a very close source of the subject. Now, non-participant observation. Now, this non-participant observation mentioned that what does it means? The researcher is not participating. He is not participating. So, non-participant observation is an observation where researcher remain present with observed person, but he study their activities and behavior as a neutral person. He does not take part himself in the group. So, somehow he is observing the group, but without becoming a member of that group. For example, a person, he tried to observe the behavior of the working woman, not becoming a part of that institution, but he is just trying to observe that how the women they are coming to the factory, how they are behaving, what kind of work they are doing. So, he is simply observing their activities, their work from the outside, non-participant observation. He is not participating. So, basically in non-participating observation, the researcher is not become a part of that group or the subjects, but he is trying to observe the subject from the outside, and in that way he tried to collect the information. We call this is the non-participant observation. So, in non-participant observation, the observer is someone whose object is to observe people in their natural environment without interacting with them and without their knowledge that they are being observed. So, in our example, this person was trying to observe these females, that they are going to the factory, they are working there, at what time they are coming back. So, he simply tried to observe them from the outside without their knowledge, without the knowledge of the women, that he is observing them. Now, what are the advantages of the observation method? A very direct method for collecting data or information, best for the study of a human behavior. Yes, the observation method is one of the best method if the researcher want to observe the human behavior. So, the few minutes back when we were discussing about how the juveniles in conflict with law, how they are behaving, what kind of offenses they have committed, and so researcher tried to observe them in the observation home. We can say that he tried to observe their behavior. So, this is the best for the study of human behavior. Second, the advantage of this observation is data collected is very accurate. Of course, this will be very accurate because the researcher himself become a part of the participant observation. Then the advantage of observation is it improves precision of the research result. Actually, it help in this way, it tried to improve the results, it tried to bring the result in a very accurate and very precise manner. The another advantage is the problems of depending on respondent is decreased. In interview method and in a questionnaire method, the researcher has to be depend on the response of the respondent. So, sometime in an interview method, the respondent sometimes they literally deny to respond to the researcher, and in a questionnaire method even the researchers sometimes they are not showing their willingness or interest to fill the questionnaire, but it is not so in observation method, because here the researcher is not directly in touch with the subject or with the community or a group of people. So, here the problem of depending on the respondent is decreased or it is very low. Now, it also help in understanding the verbal response more efficiently. Yes, this is also true, because here the researcher will be understand that what is the response of the respondent, and the verbally the response they will give, and it will be efficiently decoded by the researcher. And then the another advantage of the observation method is that observation can be made continuously and also for a larger duration of the time period. If I compare this with the questionnaire or with the interview schedule, researcher has to be fix the time period that during this time period he has to be complete the interview schedule, and he has to be complete the work of the questionnaires, getting data from the respondent. This is not in this case of observation, because in observation technique the researcher he can continuously observe for a very large time period. He can observe the activities of the subject or the members or the group, whatever is his subject of study. And then of course this observation is less demanding in nature, and because this is less demanding, that is why it is also less biased in working ability. So by observation one can identify the problem by making a very in-depth analysis of the problems. Now if we have to see that what are the disadvantages of observation, what are the demerits of the observation. In observation method, researcher cannot study the problems of the past. This is one of the main disadvantage of the observation method, because during observation whatever is visible to the researcher, he can only see that. He can give the interpretation of the data whatever is collected by him. But what was the background of that situation? What was the problem which was there in past? It cannot be studied by the researcher in the observation method. So having no other option, one has to be depend on the document whatever is available with the researcher. So if you want to study about that particular community, their behavior, their custom, that what was the custom in past, he has to be see if any document available. But in observation method, he can only observe the behavior of the respondent or the subject in the present scenario. So then observation, like controlled observation, they require some special instrument or tools for effecting working which are very costly. Yes, if observation like the controlled observation, then there is a need of the tools for effective working, and they are quite costly. So sometime if the researcher want to continue with the controlled observation, then it become very costly, and some instruments or tools are very expensive, and moreover the researcher also need a very good skill to continue the controlled observation. And with this, in observation method, yes, one cannot study opinion, views, ideas, perception by this means. It is not possible. Without interacting with the respondent, you cannot understand what is their opinion on that particular issue or a problem, what is their point of view, what they think about that particular situation or a problem, which is not possible by observing, because here the researcher is only observing the behavior of the respondent, he is not interacting with them. So their opinion, their views, their ideas, their perceptions, they cannot become a part of observation method. Observation also involve a lot of time. Yes, we already discussed that this is the only method which the researcher can continue for a very long time, and sometimes researcher only wait for the event to happen to study. I mean the particular event for which he want to observe, on which he want to observe the behavior of the respondent. If that event not happen, so it will be very long time the researcher has to wait for the happening of that incident, for which he is there to collect the information, and if that not happen, then it is absolutely a futile job for the researcher to continue with this method of research, which is observation method. So the actual presence of observer himself vis-a-vis the event to occur is almost unknown, and that's why sometimes it become a major disadvantage for the researcher. Now what are the major steps in observation research? The major steps in observation research: observation is considered a scientific inquiry. When it is scientific inquiry only when it is conducted specifically to answer a research question. As I said, that there is a difference between the casual observation and a systematic observation. This observation method is considered scientific when it is conducted specifically to answer a research question, and when it is planned and carried out in a systematic way, So observation should be in a systematic way, it should be in a selective manner, it should be in a proper way, so that the result recorded by the researcher, they can provide a reliable and a valid account which has been observed. Now, to collect the data using observation, the researcher need to plan, conduct and analyze his observation. So, the next major step in observation is field work permission. Now, field work permission. So, till now we understand that the observation can be a participant observation, it can be a quasi participant observation, it can be non-participant observation, but field work permission is another major step in observation research. Why I am saying this? Because walking into a natural environment unprepared is not the correct way to do the field work. So, the very first step is to decide, as in other field studies, the group to be studied. So, first of all, the researcher has to decide that okay, if this is a group, so I want to study this particular group in the particular setting. So, researcher has to decide that which group he want to study. So, the group to study he has to decide, and then the goal to be observed by the observation. Now, when he is planning to observe, this group, what he want to observe there, what is the goal of that observation, right? So, researcher has to understand the particular environment as completely as possible. He has to understand that what kind of a group this is, what kind of a group this group is, what kind of community or group this is. So, he need to be completely as possible, he need to understand the particular environment of that group completely, and he also need to make preparation before entering into the field. So, before the researcher he enter into the field, into the group, he has to be prepared himself well, understand completely their environment, their way of life, their way of eating, living, that what kind of activities they are doing. He need to understand each and every aspect before he entered to observe them in their natural settings. Second is selecting the research settings. It means that deciding upon the place and group to be observed. Now, if we want to observe a group, he has to decide which group I want to observe. So, the basic rule is to select a setting where the researcher can participate naturally. So, for example, if this is a group, I already mentioned that he want to observe, so then he has to decide. So, basic rule is that to select setting where researcher can participate naturally, observe easily, where he or she can easily become accepted part of surrounding, and for that the field work permission is very, very important to get from the member of the group, or maybe the head of that group, so that it will be very, very important that he has to decide the research setting, he has to finalize the field work permission, and then now this is the gaining entry. Now, this is the another major step, gaining entry. How will he gain the entry into the group? This is also very important. As I said, observer being a stranger to the environment, or often he might face some kind of a problem of legitimizing himself or herself as any survey researchers, because the people, the group or the community where whose the behavior he want to observe, they might not accept the people who are not from their group. For example, if a researcher want to observe the behavior of a particular tribal community, they are living in any specific area in a forest area, and they don't allow any stranger to enter into their group. Researcher want to observe their behavior, he try to understand some kind of a issue or a problem they are facing and their behavior. So, he has to live with those particular group or a family or a community. But the possibility is also there that they might not accept a stranger into their group, and that is why gaining entry is a very, very important step for observation research. How? Because here he has to have some credential. I mean, he has to be either get a letter of identification showing that to the head of that group that he is actually researcher, he want to research, he want to observe their behavior, and he is not there to harm them or to trying to so researcher should have some credential, and he must have a letter of identification which show that he or she is capable of conducting such a study, and he is there to observe them in their natural settings, and he is not going to harm them in their natural setting. He will be there for some time period, observe the activities of the community, and then he will leave the place. So, and gaining entry is also very, very important. So, if the community or the formal organization, if they have any particular culture, the way of living, then these kind of permissions from those in charge should be obtained. As I said that he has to be take permission, and only after that he can observe the behaviors. Next is gaining rapport and cooperation. Now, this gaining rapport and cooperation is again a very major step in the observation research. So, where the researcher's role is that of participant observer, when he himself become a part of that community, as opposed to the role of non-participant observer, where he merely observe people and objects without actually taking part in the people's activity, then he or she has to find way of interacting with those whose behavior is to be studied. Yes. Now, so far the participant observation is concerned, where the researcher become a participant observation, the chances are that there in the natural setting he might get a very accurate information. He is in a position to make a rapport with the subject or the community. But so far the non-participant observation is concerned, here the chances remain that researcher might not get that kind of a cooperation, because he is not participating actively, because he is participating occasionally, and that is why the chances are that he might not get that kind of a support, that kind of a cooperation from the community or the group. So, next is collecting, recording and organizing the field notes. Now, this is the another step of observation research. After observing the community or his subject into their natural field, researcher has to record all the information into its notes. So, he has to be convert the information he collected into notes. So, what he will do? He will use the tape recorder, maybe the cameras for collecting the information. But if you want to use camera or tape recorders or any electronic gadgets to collect the information, for that he has to be seek a prior approval from the people being observed for that. So, it is not advisable that researcher he without informing their subject he try to click the pictures or use tape recorder or maybe the mobile phone and recording their interaction with the researcher. For that he has to be seek a permission or approval from his subject that I want to record your opinion or I want to record your behavior in the natural setting. If they give approval for that, it is absolutely fine, otherwise it will be considered as a illegal to record any conversation with people without without their knowledge and where it would not be acceptable to them. So, tape recorder interviews with individual, it is a very common method nowadays, and note taking, again this is very important method for collecting data, field data, and it is always advisable to the researcher when he is pursuing the observation research, that he has to make his notes regularly, because we cannot keep all the things in our mind. Whatever we observed yesterday, we might skip 2 or 3 of the event which we has observed yesterday. So it is very good for the researcher to make notes of the observation day to day basis if he is pursuing research with the observation research method. Now once he collect all the data, now the another step is, now he has to analyze the data and preparing the report. So data analysis, presentation of the results, and drawing inferences and conclusion is the last important step in the observation study. So researcher should first look for repeated patterns, common occurrences, and in any analysis the research for the general trend or the typical pattern or activities and the behaviors of the normative mode should be extracted from these field notes. Now the next method of data collection is interview method. So interview method, now this is the widely used for information collection. What is interview method? The interview method is a method which use the verbal technique for obtaining the data. I mean, it is commonly used method for a data collection in study of a human behavior. The information may be personal nature concerning the respondent, or information may be regarding any problem, any social issue in which the interviewer is interested. So in most cases, respondent is one of many persons from whom the interview seeks information, from whom the interviewer seek information. So interview as a technique of information collection is frequently used in research. It is frequently used in research, whether the subject matter of research is of a general theoretical nature, or it may be about some social problem, issue, or questions. So the method which enable the researchers to obtain information about a person's liking, his disliking, his appreciation or his rejections, opinions, ideas, feeling, perceptions, or on any particular matter, we call that this is the interview method. So interview method may be structured, it may be unstructured, and it can be conducted face to face, or it can be conducted over telephonically, or it may be conducted as a computer assisted interview. So an interview is purely qualitative research method. It rely on asking question in order to collect data. I am repeating it again. What I said, that interview is a qualitative research method, and this method rely on asking questions in order to collect data. So one thing which is important, this is qualitative research. Secondly, this qualitative research relies on asking questions. Here the questions are asked by the researcher, and on the basis of the answer of the questions, now the data is collected by the researcher. So interview involve 2 or more people. The one who is taking interview is interviewer, and the one whom is the interviewer asking the question, he is interviewing. Now interview is also of 2 types, personal or face to face interview. This is very easy, we can understand that what does it mean, face to face or a personal interview. This is the oldest and the most widely used method of survey research, face to face interview. And face to face interview, they are usually classified further into 2 categories. The one is structured interview and the another is non-structured interview. So structured interview, this is a formal or a guided. I mean, here the interview is conducted when the researcher know exactly what information he needed. So he actually made a interview schedule, he has a interview guide, and according in that guide he has set some question, he arranged that question in a very logical order, which are asked by the interviewer, and the answers are recorded in a appropriate column, and such questions are asked of all the respondent in the same manner. I mean, the interview, the research questions, they are the interview question, they are there in that interview guide. Researcher asks the question from the respondents, and as per the answer of the respondent, he penned down that answer in the column given in that interview schedule. So in this method, interview is called structured or formal. Why? Because questions are predetermined. He already confined his way that what he will ask, and the same questions are posed to every respondent, and same question are posed to every respondent. For example, researcher want to know that after the Criminal Amendment Act of 2013, whether the women feel that there is a decrease in the rape cases incident in India. So what he did, he prepared some questions and he tried to ask the respondent, their interviewee, the same question. So the 5 or 6 questions which he prepared, he asked the same question from all the respondents. So this is the structured interview where the researcher, he has framed 5 or 10 questions and he asked the same question from all the respondents. He asked the same question from all the respondents, and according to their response, he collect that information, and then later he try to analyze that information on the basis of the answer which has been given by the woman on that particular question. Now what is this unstructured interview? Unstructured interview, it may be conducted in an informal. Now informal means non-guided manner. Non-guided manner. Now this unstructured interview may be to elicit information on the experience, opinion, attitude, maybe feeling or perception. So in unstructured interview, researcher does not frame the questions. Now we can see that here the structured interview is different from the non-structured interview. In structured interview, researcher was well prepared to ask the questions. He has the list of questions, he want to ask the question, but in non-structured interview, it is possible that researcher, he is not well prepared with the question. So what he did, he maybe start with one question, and on the basis of the answer of the respondent, he might be asked the another question on the basis of the response he get from his respondent, right? So in such interviews, researcher does not usually frame questions, and then there is a no planned sequence or order of the question. Researcher will be asking the respondent. So there is no planned sequence or order of the question that the researcher will asking the respondent. Then the non-structural interviews, they are no defined, or we can say pre-planned guiding principle. There are no defined or pre-planned guiding principle that researcher would follow. So the objective of these unstructured interviews only to collect information on some preliminary issues, so that the researcher can formulate ideas of what variables need further in detail investigation. So unstructured interview method is used in some kind of general information, when it is needed, so that the detailed formal survey or using interview or a questionnaire as a method of inquiry may be planned and carried out. So unstructured interview, they are in a nature of a very broad and general conversation in which either the general or maybe the open-ended question are asked by the researcher. As I said, that the researcher's next question will depend on the answer of the first question as it was answered by his respondent. So on the answer, the next question will be depend. Now semi-structured interview. So interview is also semi-structured. In some situations, an interview may neither completely unstructured nor completely structured, but may be somewhat semi-structured. Mean in such a case, researcher select a few topics and follow certain guidelines, but then there are no set questions. So respondent is asked to talk freely about each topic. For example, if we continue the example of our previous lecture, we were talking about that how the topic is narrowed down. There we discussed about that if the researcher want to ask the refugees who has took asylum in India, that whether they want to go back to their country. Now here the researcher, the interviewer give the open platform to the respondent. You answer the way you want to answer the question. Whether you want to be here for next 10 or 15 years, or you really want to go back to your home country. Now, so these are the semi-structured interviews. In these interviews, the respondent is asked to talk freely around each topic, and this is termed as guided or focused interview. So, this kind of interview is thus more formal than completely unstructured interview. Now, selecting the sample. Now, how the respondent will be selected for the interview? Now, this is a very important task for a researcher, because he cannot ask any question to anyone. So, it means that a researcher has to ask the question to the individual who should be well acquainted with that issue or social problem, and that is why what type of individual should be interviewed, it will depend on the purpose of the research. Yes, what is the problem, whether the respondent is actually going through that problem, or he is facing such kind of a social issue or a problem, then he will become the interviewee of that research. So, where for instance, if the question is whether existing legal provision adequately protect the house buyers. Now, this is an example I am showing on the screen. The question is whether the existing legal provisions adequately protect the house buyers from exploitation and also protect the interest of house builders. The relevant person to be interviewed would be individual from such group as home buyers or the house builders, or maybe the lawyers who are having experience of property litigation, or officials in the concerned government departments who are dealing with the construction and the the building process formalities. So, in this question we know that who will be the interviewee if the interviewer want to frame some question and he want to address this particular issue. So, basically two methods are followed for interviewing people. One is called intercept interview, another is called door-to-door interview. Now, how the interview will be conducting? How interview will be conducting? Conducting an interview is an art. Researcher should possess certain qualities: confidence, professionalism, courteous manners, ability to ask question in a very clear and in very easy way, so that the interviewee understand the language. So, a researcher should follow certain basic principle to obtain the adequate truthful information from the interview. So, under no circumstances researcher argue, contradict anything that respondent has said. What does it mean? It means that interviewee should have a the interviewer should have a very good patience level. So, how the interviewer is responding, he might be getting annoyed on some questions, sometimes he don't want to answer the questions. So, all these incidents might be faced by the interviewer, but then he has to be deal with this situation very patiently, very calmly. So, no matter whatever the respondent say, the interviewer should accept it without expressing surprise, approval, disapproval. And as Zikmund noted that there are certain principles which are very essential to good interviewing. So, he mentioned some point that interview should have integrity and honesty. Interview should have patience and tact. He know that how to manage the things. Then he must have utmost attention to accuracy and deal when asking question and recording responses. And then there are some more. The interviewer should be a good listener, should avoid talking too much, and should give a very patient hearing and giving chance to the interview to speak much to answer the questions. Now, what is the procedure in conducting the interview? The procedure in conducting interview is the first thing that there are some basic principles and steps. How the interviewer will start the interview. He has to be introduce himself or herself to the respondent, showing his identification and explaining briefly the nature, purpose and importance of the study. Then he must know that if the interviewee is refusing to answer the question, how he has to be deal with this, because many people they are not willing to be interviewed for various reasons, such because they might not incline to answer the question, because they might be busy and they don't want to answer the question. Sometime the interview, sometime the aim of the interview of the intention of the interviewer, or they do not attach importance to the research. Dealing with refusal. So, many person they may not willing to interviewed for various reason. They might not incline to spare time, or they are very suspicious about the aim of the interview, of the intention of the interviewer, or they do not attach importance to the research. So, interviewer should take effort to be pleasant, sincere, and should try allay any anxiety, fear, suspicion, and gain confidence. If the respondent is if the respondent is told about the purpose of the study, how and why the respondent was chosen to be one of the many individuals to the interview, then a better environment for communication between the parties can be start. And then researcher should never ask the very broad question initially. He has to be start interview with his introduction, then ask a very simple questions, and then gradually he can ask the basic questions, but he should not start with a very broad question initially, and then asking question as worded. Now, this is also very important. If he has framed that interview schedule, researcher has to be confined, the interviewer has to be confined on the question which he has listed down in the interview schedule. So, any question which he has not mentioned in that interview schedule, he should try to avoid such kind of a question, so that the accurate information can be penned down. And then he should also clarify issue, if any, he think that the researcher is not able to, the respondent is not able to understand the question he asked, he need to be clarify the issue, because it is really important to get the idea or the understanding of that perspective of the interviewee, and that is why he should repeat question where respondent ask for repetition. He should give indication to the respondent if he misunderstood or misinterpret the question. Now, with this, he should also avoid the leading questions. He should do the recording of responses, because these two are very, very important for further interpretation of the data or information which he has collected. So, if we see advantages of the face-to-face interview, there is a great flexibility, probing complex answers, there is a the chances that interviewee participate is very high, and the length of the interview is also specific, and then there is also possibility of obtaining responses to all the questions, because the interviewer himself is there. The disadvantages, this is very cost taking way of taking interview, because the person has to be visit to the interviewee at his place. It is time consuming, he might has to travel from one place to another, and sometimes it is also difficult in locating the respondent, and sometimes respondents, they don't want to answer the they don't want to be interviewed, and that is why they always remain reluctant to the interview, and then there might be also the interview bias, and that is why this type of interview has its own merits and demerits. Telephone interview. Telephone interview is the way of collecting information telephonically, and it has been increasingly used because it is very convenient method of collecting data. In many types of research, for example, the commercial surveys, the social or a political opinion survey, it has become very popular than the personal interviews, And then this telephonical interviews also has its advantages and disadvantages. It is advantages that the interviewer can collect data very quickly, and then it is less costly, and if the interviewee is not picking up the call, interviewer can call back again, and then there is the absence of face to face. So, sometime in the absence of the interviewer, the interviewee respond in a very free way, which is not possible in face to face interview. Then there is also the feasibility to interact with the interview again, and it is also have a advantage that there is a wide coverage in the telephonical interview. Now, so far the limitation is concerned, this is for the limited duration. Respondents' cooperation is a very, very important factor. Some people, they don't want to pick the phone, they don't want to interact on the phone, and that's why this will definitely bleak the chances to get information. Then there is a limited representation, and this telephonical interview is sometimes considered as a less efficient process. Now, the emerging approaches to interviewing, see, the technology has developed much, and now the communication become very easier with in the digital world. And internet interviewing is possible using computer mediated communication. We call this CMC. And with this new trend, a direct ongoing interview by keyboard using Acronis CMC, that is through email, the interview is possible. Then through Yahoo Messenger, through Google Chat, the interview is possible. So this type of interview is called non-directive interview. So this type of interview is very common nowadays. It is in a trend that now the people, they conduct interview either on a Yahoo Messenger or on a Google Chat, or even on a Google Chat or online video calls. So it is also unstandardized interview, but here the interviewer avoid channeling the interview in certain direction. So again, emerging approach to interviewing is also very important. With the digitalized world, we have to be shift and to see that what are the another way to interview. So the computer mediated communication is emerging as a new trend to conduct the interviews. Thank you.